You have just been put in the Colosseum. There's 87,000 screaming fans watching you as you fight to the death with other gladiators. Welcome to Ancient Rome. My name is Mr. Naughton. I'll be the host of a new video series that will help teach you about ancient Rome. Ancient Rome was one of my favorite topics in college. It was my favorite subject that I studied, and with my favorite professor. Shout out to Dr. Senecal. So, Rome is one of my favorite topics in all of history. You can even see here, I've got one of my favorite shirts on of the Roman Colosseum. So, welcome to When in Rome with Mr. Naughton. Today, we're going to be starting off our first video. Now, if you notice, these videos are going to be numbered using Roman numerals. I know, everything Rome. So, today we're going to start off with our first video, or the Roman numeral I. That means 1. We're going to start off with some geography. So, let's dive right into it. I've got a map here. You're going to learn about some Roman geography. Got a map of Italy because Rome is still the capital city of Italy today. But we're diving way back, thousands of years ago, to the foundation of ancient Rome. So I've got this little map for you here. We're going to talk about some important features of geography. I took the map from the reading essentials from this chapter's reading, and then I added some color to it to really make it pop. So let's look at some features of Italy that are really going to set up the people who live in Rome. First off, you have one of the world's tallest mountain ranges in the world, the Alps Mountains up here north of Italy. And they cut off Italy from the rest of Europe, which is further north. So these Alps are really important. They cut off Italy. It's just like we studied with China and with Greece and other pieces of land throughout the world in ancient history. If they're cut off, they're going to really have their own unique culture. Unlike India, which is going to be a blending of many different cultures. In Rome here, with the mountains and this river up here, they're cut off. Now, what's it called when there's a piece of land that comes off of a larger piece of land, but it's surrounded by water on 3 sides? What is this called? A peninsula. So, the Italian peninsula comes off of Europe here. We have the Alps Mountains. We have the Po River Valley right up here. We keep going down. We have the Apennines, which are kind of like little mountains or hills. So a lot of Italy here has mountains or hills. That's like one of their main features in their geography. They have the huge mountain range up north. Then they have the Po River. Then you keep going and you have the Apennines going down the center of the boot. A lot of people call Italy a boot. Can you see it? So we've got the boot here. Then we have a very famous and important river called the Tiber River. This Tiber River is why people are going to choose to live in this area called Latium. Latium is another word for Roman. So the Romans are going to live in this area here. So we've got the Alps Mountains up north, cutting off the Italian peninsula. You've got the Tiber River, which is running through Rome. And you have the 7 hills. This is known as like the mythic or the legendary 7 hills of Rome because many of their mythology and their stories involving these 2 twins that mysteriously found the city, but we'll get to that later, lived on these 7 hills. According to the legend, the 7 hills were picked because of their great fertile land. This means this little green dot here is going to be great for farming. So the Tiber River runs through the 7 hills. Right there, and that's where the city of Rome is going to get started. And lastly, this is review, you already know this, but the ocean or the body of water that surrounds Italy is called the Mediterranean Sea. So again, the 3 most important things you need to know about Roman geography, you've got the Alps Mountains up here, you've got the Tiber River, and the 7 hills of Rome. That's really going to set up a lot of information you're going to need to learn about for the rest of this chapter in ancient Rome. Let me tell you a little bit more about some of these features. The Tiber River here, the one that runs through Rome, the Tiber River is about 15 miles long, so it's not even that long of a river. It goes from the Mediterranean through into Italy. The Tiber River was used for many different reasons. It was used for fresh water. transportation, and shipping. So the Romans could have easy access on the Tiber River. They had this little port city called Ostia, which was really useful. We'll talk about that later as well. But the Tiber River ran into the Mediterranean, so the Romans could sail from the river and sail out right into the Mediterranean for transportation and shipping of goods. So that's going to be really important early on for a little city-state that starts off. The other feature that I want to talk about is the 7 hills. So these 7 hills in Rome, they protected the city from attacks. So with one hill, the high ground, if you know Star Wars, is pretty good for defending yourself. But with 7 hills, you have really good eyesight out over the plains of the surrounding area, and it's raised for defense. So it's really easy to defend the city that would be built from attacks. Of course, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it was really easy to defend it from attacks. And this group of people settled in those 7 hills called the Latins. This is where their language is going to come from. They're the first group of people who are going to settle in that Rome area. Now, there's going to be some other people who show up too, called the Etruscans, but we'll get into that next week on early Roman history. So, last review. You've got the Alps mountains in the north, the Tiber rivers running through Rome, and the 7 hills of Rome. Hope you learned a lot about geography, and I hope you're excited to learn about Rome as much as I am. And don't worry, we will get to those gladiators in that Colosseum that I promised. I'll even show you some pictures that I took while I was there. Rome is one of my favorite cities in the whole world, and I hope you're as excited to learn about it as I am. So, this is Mr. Naughton. Always remember, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.